Hello YouTube! This is the Asian Theist here, back with part 5. We are halfway through this series and so far nothing challenging has popped up. Maybe Crunch is saving its best reasons for last. Until then, let's see what reason number 6 has to offer.
Number 6. Existence of evil. When believers say that there's a God, a power which is noble and good, then do they forget the existence of evil in the world?
Some believers would say that the existence of evil is actually evidence for a noble and good God. I wouldn't consider myself fully committed to this viewpoint yet, but I am getting close to it. More on that later.
Be logical. When God loves us so dearly, then why does he allow evil to exist?
This will require an entire video itself, but the reasons most obvious to me would have to include 1. Giving humans the ability to choose whether or not to follow him, and 2. Having a higher purpose for all that evil, one which we cannot fully comprehend at the current moment. On top of that, if it's logic you're concerned about, then the problem of evil can arguably work for God's existence rather than against it. Consider the following. In order to have a standard of objective evil, then there must also be a standard of moral perfection, an ideal, essentially, that gives you some kind of impartial authority to label certain things as evil. Otherwise, how can you call anything evil without saying, "This is just my opinion," which raises the question, why should I care about your opinion? If there is no objective standard of moral perfection, then calling something evil is just you trying to project your own values onto purely neutral events. God, according to Christianity, is the moral ideal, and it is through this standard that makes evil discernible. This can work similarly to a scoring system in sports that helps us differentiate between the veteran players and the amateurs. So here's what we've just established. 1. If there is objective evil, then there must be a moral ideal that allows us to identify it. 2. There is objective evil. Therefore, there is a moral ideal. This is one of the most basic argument forms in logic. It's called modus ponens. If A, then B, A, therefore B. Now, how does this relate to God? Well, since God and moral perfection are logically equivalent from this Christian viewpoint, we can safely substitute the moral ideal with God, using the logical rule of equivalence. With this substitution in mind, our modus ponens can now sound like the following. 1. If there is objective evil, then God must exist to allow us to identify it. 2. There is objective evil. Therefore, God exists.
If there is God, who allows wars and riots to take place and destroy his creation when by all means he can stop it? Then he is at least not worth worshipping.
Yeah, speak for yourself, buddy. If you believe that morality is subjective, as in it's all just opinion, then saying God doesn't deserve to be worshipped due to wars and riots is no different than saying, I can't worship God due to the existence of Brussels sprouts. Sure, you may not like them, but some people live and even thrive off the stuff. If you believe that morality is objective despite there being no God, then who or what establishes the standards of how things ought to be, and why should we obey it? As Gregory Koukl puts it, evil does not prove atheism. It proves just the opposite. That's about it. Part 6 will be coming up soon. In the meantime, this is the Asian Theist, signing off.